And welcome.
Thanks.
All right, we are called to order. Let me switch over to the agenda. All right, everybody is present. We got a full house. That's nice. And everybody had meetings up, minutes up from last meeting, February 18th.
Yep.
Look over those. Everything looked good to me.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You got that, Teresa.
All right.
All right, and at this time, we'll open the floor for public comment. Do you have any public comments? Do you have any?
No, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. All right, so old business, this one will be fast. I am still, I've got the wording and everything for the UDO, that's fine, that was an easy one, but I'm still working on that chart. I'm hoping to have that to you guys by Sunday
What are you
for
talking
final,
about?
for fencing.
Oh, I
I'm s-
thought we were,
We got through
okay,
it.
but, we don't have here that we, last time, we talked about training and we were tabling it.
Oh, I didn't put that on old business, but that is old business. Now that we have everybody here, we can talk about training.
Okay.
You said training?
Training, yep, just
Training for what?
UDO training.
Oh.
We wanted to do, when we came on, Mary did, she did a full day for us. I don't know that we need a full day. You guys have been on the board long enough to have kind of caught up a little bit. We were brand new coming in, and so,
Well, I'm
well,
sorry.
you weren't.
I'm sorry to,
What?
to contradict you, but I really think that other than the UDO, just like the general information that we went over, I think that it would be of benefit too.
Oh, yeah,
Other than
definitely,
that,
but I don't think we need a full day.
You don't, I
You
would
think
say
we need a
yes,
full day? Well, we'll
yes.
put it to a vote. I'm good with
I mean,
that.
at least tentatively, and
Yeah.
then if we
If we break early, we break
that's
early.
fine, but,
What it basically is kind of just a crash course in what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and the legality behind it.
Hmm.
What is legal for us to do, what's not legal, and then we also do some map study, road study. It's a good time to ask lots of crazy questions. Why is this on this? Why is this
Mhm.
this? I'm gonna see if Mary will do it with us,
But
because
she's done it before, right?
she was the one,
What is
she
she
was our,
usually-
she was our board, chair for, how long was, 6 years? How long was she board chair?
I think more or less.
Yeah, so, and she is, I don't know if you've had a chance to meet Mary, but she is, she's 180 out, is what my dad would have said. She is a very, smart and astute individual, and she knows her stuff when it comes to zoning. She's now on the,
Well, being on the council is also.
That is
to our
beneficial
favor
too.
Because she can,
yeah, very
you know,
beneficial.
she has an insight into what we're up against, or, you know, whatever, however. All right.
So I wanted to find out what some dates would be. I was hoping tentatively early April, but I know that you've got some travel coming up. I think I put it in my notes.
My travel is finished.
Your travel's finished?
Mhm.
Okay.
Until
Are
August
you
of
available during the day, or?
What about a Saturday? I hate to get anybody out. I hate to do that on a Saturday. What's your thoughts around that? Not a fan.
No. Saturdays
That's
are busy.
alright, that's
Busy.
alright.
Saturdays when you get the real work done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had down here no 26th of April for some reason. That might have been,
No, that's not a good day for me.
I mean, you
That
guys,
may
I mean,
be
whatever's
Wednesday.
good for you guys. I mean, I don't, not that I don't need it to
Yeah.
come, I mean, but because I did it
yeah,
already with you
oh,
guys.
you did it with us
so,
before,
mhm,
yeah,
So,
okay.
it's more for your benefit, I mean.
No, the 26th is not, is.
That was
not-
the one that's not good for you. Okay, so,
But if he is not coming, then we don't need it
Right.
unless
Do whatever you guys,
we
Yeah.
can do it during the week.
then we can do it during the week.
Mhm.
What's
The
your
only week-
availability? You have some,
Yeah, the only week that I can't do it is week of the 14th, the
Of
middle
April.
week in April.
Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays are good for me.
Thursdays are not good.
okay?
We go to the farmer's market.
And then we have to also check with Mary and see what her thing is, but, I'll see if I can't figure out a day with her in April, a Monday or a Tuesday.
Prefer Monday.
Prefer Monday, I'm actually the same way. Mondays are my catch-up days since I work for the weekend.
Okay, the only one that I really don't, because of this, you know, I'm enrolled for the Spring Fest in April 26th, so that week is going to be,
Okay, so not the
Busy holiday.
21st either,
no.
okay.
So
Alright,
you
so
know
we're,
what-
so we're hoping for the 7th or the 28th,
Yeah,
and I'll check with Mary and see what
no,
her,
the 28th is better for me.
what her availability is, and then if we have to, we can slip into May. I'd like to get there sooner than later and just go ahead and get some of that in there. It was so beneficial when we did it.
It was.
I felt like we
Oh, I'm
came back
looking
to,
forward to it,
I think
yeah.
when we came back to where we were we had a whole
Mhm.
new appreciation
Mhm.
and understanding of what we were doing and how to do it and all of that good stuff. Alright, so I'll check with her, I'll send her an email tonight. And then we'll make a plan, that's good for everybody.
Okay,
And do I need to amend the
the
agenda to add
Yeah.
training in there? Alright, we'll get decided on that. Alright, on to fencing. So Teresa, you took great notes and you got good stuff on the minutes.
Basically, I think that the focus of everything was,
We got everything in there,
Yeah,
I
we
just
had-
need
okay, we didn't-
I've gotta get that chart together.
okay, but did you
Yeah.
talk
To Lisa.
about, because we like.
We
up
were
in
on
the
this-
air with the-
We were on the right track, we just didn't get there. So when we were looking, pull that opacity sheet out, and it's a whole lot, so we were making it a whole lot harder than it needed to be. And I don't know if it was just late,
So you
tired.
did speak?
Yeah. So the opacity, when you're looking at this.
Okay, so the first thing is that I have in the notes, and I have it in my notes here, that we were, the opacity versus visibility, is it?
Opacity is
one
the
better
same
than
thing.
The other thing is
It's the same thing. That's how much, opacity is how much you can see through a solid object. Or not, through, like if you have a fence, I don't wanna say a solid object, cause I don't want you to think pickets, I want you to think a whole fence. We're talking about a panel, 6 foot, 8 foot panel. When, you guys have, you got it out, you have this opacity sheet?
Yeah.
I didn't bring it.
It's all right. We'll work off of it, but not a whole lot. You'll get it. So when we're looking at, I'm just gonna pick a 6 foot section, that would have 2-inch boards. So you got a max number of boards of 21 on that with 2-inch boards. That's gonna give you 42 inches of opaqueness, not to be confused with opacity. Alright, so when you're
What was that? What's the word?
opaque, solid. That's a 6 foot. So,
Okay, so you're working on how
but
much?
I'd like to break this down even more. So on this, we get to 42 inches of opaqueness. That's not what we're trying to get to. We're trying to do and it's very simple. If you have a 6 foot section of fence, multiply that by 12 inches, that's 72 inches. Now you've gotten to 42 and 72. So, $42 divided by 72 is 58. That's your percentage of opacity. That's the
Okay,
amount,
so
58% of that fence you can see through.
Straight out, and what is your calculation, what are you
So,
multiplying?
here's the problem that we got to on this chart. We were trying to get to a percentage, cause that's what's in the UDO.
Right,
In order to get to a percentage, you have to convert this 6 foot into, 6 foot is a 72-inch section. A 6 foot fence is a 72-inch section. That's the breakdown of inches. So 42 inches of that is gonna be absolutely opaque. You cannot see through it because it's a picket.
and how did you arrive at that?
Because if you have the 2-inch boards and it's a 6 foot section,
I don't know why I
Okay.
have that chart.
that's where you got 21 boards. 21 times 2 is 42. So if you have a 6 foot section with 2-inch boards, they're equally spaced, that's 21 boards. That gives you 42 inches, because you have 21 boards, each of them 2 inches thick or wide. So 42 inches of this fence is not see-through. But in order to get that to a percentage, and this is where I'd like to simplify it even more and more and more. The simpler we can get it, the easier it is to use, which is our job. We're supposed to be getting to where the UDO is easy to use. This is not easy to use.
Okay.
But what,
So how
going
are we gonna
further,
replace it?
that's what I think we need to go through first we have to explain how you get this, and then you take that 42 inches, you divide 42 by 72 is gonna give you a percentage. That gives you the 58%.
Now, according to the rules, it has to be 60.
It can't be over 60.
Oh, over 60.
Doesn't have to be 60, it has to be under 60% or less. So anything under that 60% is gonna be acceptable. But I feel like this is just, those are too many steps, and and it's not that people can't do it, it's they shouldn't have to. This can be broken down more simply to where we don't have to make them make the conversion. I would still like to put a definition in the UDO, so if they're not using, we'll give them examples, if they're not using certain things or certain, maybe they're using 2 inches and 1 inch, or 3 inch and 1 inch. That's a very popular thing to do right now. It's very modern looking, so you end up with a couple different. All you have to do is add up in your sections how many of those are, add the inches, and then you have, you can do the opacity by dividing that by your section. So if you're doing an 8 foot section, it would be a little bit more, 6 foot section, 72 inches. So I wanna put that in there, but I still feel like we can get to a simpler space to say, this fence is a standard panel that comes from Lowe's or Home Depot. There are 2 inch slats, there's 21 slats, that's 58% opacity. This would pass. This is under the 60%.
But that's gonna be where, to try to make it simple and put that in writing, I mean, this is just as simple, if you're gonna do that, because a lot of people are gonna go and say, how many do I need, or what do I need, how many,
Yeah.
Inches is this, how many boards do I need, and they're not gonna remember,
Yeah.
what this says, so I think if you put, like Foxfire puts something on their website, like under the,
Keep going, I wanna hear the rest of the thought.
under the,
Yeah.
like under the zoning, and has this in there, like this.
This would be an appendix, yeah.
Yeah, and then make it clear like you just said, and then divide this by 72.
So if we put this in, should we also put the opacities beside it? Like maybe add into this, you see what I'm saying? Like show where that conversion comes out to 58% there.
Well,
And then the next,
you
the
need
next,
that to
the
be able to
next.
divide that by the 72, so you
Yeah.
need that number.
Yeah,
So all we need to do then is just do like a chart like this, and then say divide by 72, and that will be.
that's your opacity.
That's your opacity, and it has to be less than 60.
We don't have the capabilities of putting in a calculator,
No.
so,
I mean, you
Well, that's
can,
what it's
I
gonna
mean,
have
whoever
to
does the
be.
website,
But Tasha,
I mean,
just like you just
Yeah.
did it,
mhm,
and I put it in the minutes,
Yeah,
that you can give an example
yeah.
and show how you calculate it, which is.
I
then if
think
you need to
once
do
you know
anything
how to
else-
do it, it's pretty simple. I thought we could maybe even bring it down more, but you're right. There's no way we're not gonna get every fence every
Yeah, but
person
at
will wanna
least
do.
if you
Yeah.
illustrate something,
But I do think we need the chart as an appendix, and I think we need the other appendix we were talking about,
do you
with
remember
Like
when-
visual
pictures.
representation.
Did you send us that?
This, gosh, we got these back in November,
Because I'm trying to find out where.
and I gave you
I
copies.
I
I made
know,
copies,
but I
yeah.
don't know where I have it.
But I didn't send
have
it out
it.
digitally is what I'm saying. I can when I go home tonight, I can copy I can
Alright.
scan this in and send this to you.
Okay.
You know, for what it's worth, for those of us that are a little bit thick, I would suggest we dumb it down as simple as possible.
Yeah, I think,
That's what we tried to, we were discussing that, and there's really no way to make it simple, just because there's so many different fence heights that you can go to, so we're trying to make it so that if somebody went to Lowe's or Home Depot and said, I'm gonna buy this fence, is this, you know,
how
is
can
this
I
good?
calculate that?
Yeah.
They could easily walk to a panel, or if they know the sections they're gonna lay out. I mean, if you're gonna build a fence yourself, you know how to build, you're a pretty handy person, you're gonna build it out yourself. It would be very easy to put a conversion chart in there and say, you know, here's your calculation. You take the slat width by how many slats you have in a section, and then whatever your section length is, you divide that number by your section length, and that's your opacity.
Before someone even does it though,
Yeah,
do they have to bring it here for
Yeah,
approval?
I think they have to.
So we can correct it?
well, we don't,
No, but I mean, it could be
but
corrected.
yeah, it would be, and it would also give, Lisa would be the one correcting it, but it would also give her something simple to open the UDO and go, okay, here's your calculation, and here's how
Yeah.
you're supposed to calculate that, and here's where it might have gone wrong, or here's where it went right. So it would just be a little bit simpler. We would have, I do like the visual examples, we talked about the Pinehurst thing, theirs is, if you look at Pinehurst UDO, they have great visual examples. We might not have them embedded in our UDO like they do. Their UDO runs almost like a book.
Mhm.
They have some appendices, but they're less. They put a lot of meat, just like the Southern Pines, a lot of the bigger towns do, they have more money to work with. You know, they're not working with volunteers, a lot of them are, you know, they're paid planning, so they have the ability to put more structure in their UDO. Ours would be an appendix, but it would be a quick link. Like if you're in the UDO and you're in the fencing section, here are your appendices, here's opacity appendices, here's your visual representation, or however, you know, I'm sure Lisa will have how she wants it
Yeah,
listed in there. But I think with those two things, I think we're never gonna encompass everything
Right.
or make it easy for every person, but I think we can make it easy for the majority of people, and this opacity business wouldn't be such a mystery anymore.
Are you gonna add, like what we just talked
I
about?
think, yeah,
Some
and
kind of an example.
I think we keep this,
As a calculation.
I think the calculation definition needs to be in the UDO, like in the worded.
Yeah.
And then we'll also have, I think the calculation needs to also be on the appendices, on this, and, probably also on the visual representation, and then how to tie those two in together.
Yeah, if you, in the UDO, if you put under fencing, under the section for fencing, and you talk about nearly 60% opacity, you can always, I mean, that should be pretty simple. I can help them do it if they don't know how to do it, but you can even hyperlink it to this.
Yeah.
So when they're on there, they say, what's 60% opacity?
There is a section we can hyperlink to the appendix,
Yeah, so then you
absolutely.
hyperlink it to that, and then they, oh, this comes up, and you see the pictures, and then, oh, okay, that makes, I mean, for
Takes
those
the
who are going to
guesswork
look,
out.
right, it'll make it easier for those who are going to do it.
I think this and Tashi's formula, which is super simple,
Right.
you're good.
Mhm.
It's like,
And the
it
pictures,
doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
like they
Yeah, I
have the,
do show her the pictures,
the one that has they just show the different sections of the, like like the fencing,
Mm-hmm.
this is from Pinehurst, so
Yeah.
they'll put some of the pictures up, they even put stone walls and that in here.
Yeah, I
but-
wouldn't put anything in there, it's not
No,
very
but I
unique.
mean, they have just simple pictures of what, you know, what it's to look like. So if you have something like that, some
I was
images-
thinking maybe the top 5 we
Yeah,
have around here. And even the simplest, like, you know good and well that I can't remember the name, is it post rail fence is the name of it?
yeah,
Post rail, those fences meet opacity every day of the week, and we know that, but as our first example, here's where this lands on the opacity scale. This is, you know, if you have 4 or 5 inch slats, well, those sometimes are 6 inch, so if you have a 6 inch and 6 inch, everything else there, this is the percentage of opacity there. So I think give them some good examples. Maybe the other one might be the picket panels, like you buy the whole panel at Lowe's, and then maybe something that pushes that 60%. Maybe a 2 by 21 6 inch panel that would push that opacity almost to the end. So you have like from the very most opacity, and then it would work its way to, you know, what would really be the most you could do as a fence.
if you're just, oh, I'm sorry,
So the village just doesn't want a fence that has 0 opacity, right?
Right.
So why can't we just put that and everything else if it's gonna be
they want it
6?
60.
It has to
It's a
be
specific
60, and
number.
here's where they got
Why
it.
is that, yeah?
I'll tell you where some things went a little awry with a couple fences, and it's historic, I guess, it's a couple years ago at this point. But there was a fence put up around a pool, and many of us didn't see a problem with it, but, you know, it did not meet opacity rules from a 90-degree standpoint. It met it from the side, but it has to meet it from the 90-degree standpoint. Now, that wasn't in the UDO at the time. It did eventually make its way into the UDO, but there have been a couple fences like that. I think really what the board would not like to see are privacy fences, where you do have like no
No vision,
vision,
yeah.
it's a full break of light, there's no, you can't see through visually, it breaks the landscape completely. So, I don't know where the 60% opacity came from, that was well before my time. I'm just gonna say, I think we're already trying to move, we did vote and agree to try to move, to 5 foot for the standard height, for all residents, not just pool people. I know that 6 won't fly, 6 goes for pool people. If you have a pool, you can have a 6 foot fence, but we came to the consensus that you shouldn't have to have a pool to have some semblance of privacy, and 5 foot might do that for you.
I thought we had a discussion that it should just be 6 foot all the way across the board.
Well, that came down,
We need to vote on it, I don't think we did.
I thought we did vote on
On the
this.
6th, but not if we're changing it, then.
No, I don't think we can, I mean, we can change it, we can vote on
No.
6, but it won't pass.
No, I'm not talking about 6, I'm talking about the 5.
Yeah,
What
we did
happened
vote
is-
on 5,
We did?
we did, and we passed the 5.
Okay.
And I thought that was in your notes.
No, it isn't, because we never voted on, we voted on 6, but we didn't.
I think and we can agree to disagree, I don't remember voting on 6, we had talked about 6, I was actually pushing for 6, but I know for a fact 6 will not pass the
Okay,
village
but
council.
Are we attempting to put on there?
I mean-
Recommend 5?
If you read through your minutes,
Not this one, not the last one.
the last one, read through your minutes real quick.
No, I just talked about height, that's it.
That's 5 is the height.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand, but
Yeah.
it doesn't say here that we voted on it.
Well, we can vote on it.
Not allowed to comment or not?
No, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to help with the opacity thing.
Are you a fencer?
I know how to make fences, I made plenty of them. If I could just to help everybody visualize real quick, not just hear
We'll
anything.
allow it, you have to stand up, say
Yeah.
your name, all the good
Okay,
stuff.
Kevin Robbins, I live on.
Typically, it's not allowed, but because you came and are listening to this boring comment.
No, I just want,
And you know something about fences?
I just wanna help.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no op-ed, no
Yeah.
suggestions. So, like a regular privacy fence is gonna be tight, right? That's like way over the opacity rule. and
Right.
I think nobody wants that, so like, if you were to just right now be like, what is a 50% opacity? It's gonna be like almost one of those like offset
The box
boxy
fence.
ones where you can
That's the
kinda
box
see through
fence.
them. The less than 50 is like your standard like picket fence.
However, it has to be on a 90-degree angle.
Right,
A box fence is further opacity, but from the side.
right.
But you can make a box fence where you have it
If you offset them.
not necessarily here, but here. Yep.
I just wanted to throw that out there to help because everyone's like, we need a visual aid.
Yeah,
It's tough,
definitely.
it's the way it's worded.
Yeah.
How they want it, it's just.
Yeah, so like the regular, like those fancier ones, it's
Yeah.
like regular privacy fence, but then like the ones that are offset, those ones are actually a little bit more than 50%, probably like 60 or 70. And to your point, you have to like spread them
You
out.
have to get them just a little bit apart, but you don't, I mean, it's not a whole lot. I
Right,
mean,
but
it's-
below 50% is like your standard picket fence.
Yeah,
Like your little white picket fence you would see, those are like under 50%.
yeah,
So that's just to kind of,
just to visualize.
Yeah.
Thank you for
That's
that.
helpful.
Okay, so back to, I propose that we recommend
Okay,
the height of the fence to be
for
5 feet for everybody.
all zones,
Yes,
yes, I second.
5 feet instead of 6, whatever we.
I think we had talked about 6, but what I was gonna tell you, I think the board had heard that we were discussing 6 and said, we're not gonna vote on that. So,
Why?
go back to what,
Why?
they don't have to give us an
The
information.
council,
That's, or the council, sorry, not
the
the board.
council
The
would not.
village council heard we were talking about 6 and said, you can squash that, we're not gonna be doing that. And so they make the changes, we just recommend, you know that.
Right.
And we can recommend it all day long, we're wasting our time if we don't go back to the drawing board and try to at least get something that will pass. And they've already told us 6 won't go, so we're gonna try 5.
Okay,
My
so-
theory is, you shouldn't have to pay for a $50,000 pool to have a private backyard. But I'm also in the ETJ, and I have 1,700 feet between my house and the road, so I have to kinda,
Does like when you say like the council just, tells us that we're not gonna hear 6 foot, that's not gonna happen.
and
Is
it's
it-
very rare that they will come and say something.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if us as a board
Mhm,
is recommending 6 foot,
mhm.
I think 6 foot might be too high, but if we were to say, you know what, we think the village
Community would
wants
want it,
6
yeah.
feet, I don't think we should be worrying about what they do, let them say no, and let the people then, go to the council and say, hey, they recommended, 6 foot, why didn't you take their recommendation? Let them take the heat. I mean, if we agree on,
Yeah.
6 foot, I don't think that we should think, that they just can do, they can, they can, but there's gotta be consequences for their actions. So
Yeah.
when if they're looking to get voted back in, and they say, well, look at the planning and zoning board wanted 6 foot, and you went against what they wanted, this is what the people want, then let them take the heat.
I kinda look at it like a devil's advocate, the chicken issue. Look how many people came and showed up at meetings and were hot and furious, and people got lawyers, and it was wild over chickens. They're not, I mean, I don't know that we have that kind of community support for 6 foot. We haven't had anybody come.
I don't know, yeah, that's what I'm
just
saying, I don't know if
we
it's
have
6
to
foot,
have,
but
some
I'm
community
against 6,
support.
I don't think
Yeah.
6 foot is, I
and
don't
I
think
think
it's good anyway.
a lot of people would be, more, I'm more, on the foot wise, I am probably leaning far left of center on that, just because I do in general with personal property rights, that's just,
I agree, but there is, we've discussed this already, because there has to be, if you just let people run amok, and then you'll
And I
have
do
every,
see
so
the value in
you'll
it.
have front yards, you'll have 6 foot fence, you'll have 5 foot fence, you'll have solid fences, you'll have this, and it'll look like a mess down, if you come down Richmond and you'll see,
yeah.
all these fences and that, so I understand that. And believe me, I'm private, for private rights too, absolutely, but
Within reason.
when you live in a community, you
Yeah.
have to take the thought of the community, and take that into account. And I understand why they do like the fence things, I totally get that, but there are certain parts, like in a backyard for your privacy and that you should, that's not a nuisance to anybody else, except maybe
Yeah.
your neighbor. But it's not for the, the community, it might not be like, if you're on Richmond and you say, okay, I get that, but if you have something in your backyard that nobody but your neighbor's gonna see, I don't think that should stop any, you from having a 6-foot fence if you want.
Yeah, that's where I was landing on it. My biggest thing is, there's a fairness disparity, around the cost issue when it comes to, like, what if you don't want or can't afford a pool, then you don't get a 6-foot fence.
Right.
Why should you be penalized because you don't want a
Exactly.
pool or can't afford one? That's where I was,
Right.
that's where my mind was going with the
Kids,
6-foot.
or pets, or,
Well, I was,
something.
there
Okay, but-
any number of things,
Right.
but I think
But-
we know that won't go, but
Okay,
We'll
and
do
I
what we
agree
can do,
with
whatever.
you, but I don't know what the approach is to have a discussion, because we're not having a discussion with the council,
Mhm.
okay, on your reasoning behind it. I agree with her and that, that why should you have a pool and then you're allowed to have,
Mhm.
6 feet, but if you don't have one, you can't.
Right.
But I don't think we're gonna be in a position to bring that discussion to
the board,
To the
yeah, or
council,
the
to the
council.
council.
I'm saying board.
so, I mean. and-
No, but even though that we can't
But
bring
it
it to
shouldn't,
them.
I see your point,
we
it
shouldn't
shouldn't
stop us
it
from-
shouldn't stifle us and
Right, from
our,
saying it.
what we're doing, yeah.
Let them decide, yes, but this is our recommendation, we don't need to go before them to say we're giving them our recommendation,
Okay,
and let
so-
them turn it
So
down.
the second one is because, I mean, in all fairness, I'm the one that brought it up, okay, to begin with. It's not like it came from the community and,
Right,
somebody came here and recommended that we change it. So, I mean, my way of thinking is that 4 feet is, I mean, if I stand up, it's like right here.
Mhm.
That is, to me, is of no use
right,
other
it's not
than,
private.
because I
Yeah.
have one already that it's bought. So because I'm interested in some privacy, I guess I'm looking at a middle ground between I know that, what I would want, which is a 6 feet, and what I have heard that they would go for.
And
So-
my bigger, I mean, when she brought it up, I looked at a couple other UDOs around us, fits in Pinehurst, fits in, Aberdeen, Southern Pines, they all allow a larger fence, but they also allow privacy fencing. And I knew that was probably not an avenue we could go down, given the history of what's,
Mhm.
was approved before. But we certainly could have maybe find a happy medium and, recommend something that they could, instead of looking at it and going absolutely not, they could kind of look at it, just like you
Because
said,
if they
you
turn
don't
it
want
down,
6-foot
then we're
fences
like,
everywhere.
that's it.
But 5-foot fence is that's kind of palatable, and it also provides, it hits both. It's palatable for those that don't want 6-foot fences everywhere, and it also gives the homeowner some privacy if they would like it, within reason,
Right.
within the bounds of what's allowed in the community and what would look good in the community.
And it's not, and in the UDO, it's not, we're not even talking about putting it in your front yard.
No,
So that
it
wouldn't
would
even be an
be,
issue.
this is still
Right, so
behind, yeah.
that's not an, so,
Yeah.
my thinking of like on Richmond, that
No,
doesn't come into
that
play
wouldn't be a
anyway,
thing.
so.
Mm-mm. No, it would
It's
still be
just that.
backyards, but it would give, I mean, I have a golden retriever now, she couldn't jump to my knee, but I had Nikita before and she could clear a 4-foot fence, no
Easily,
problem.
probably,
I
yeah.
had a fox
No
terrier-
issue.
I had a fox terrier that would climb over the fence.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
6-foot fence between my house and
And I never saw her go over a 6-foot, but she could get over a post or she wouldn't even run under it, she'd just go right over it, she didn't care.
I see what you're saying and I agree with you, but on the other hand, I don't want it to come there and they knock it down and that's the end of it.
Yeah, no, but I understand, I know, if they're not gonna do it, they're not gonna do it, but I think it should be put on record
Yeah.
that we said it and that we recommended it, and let them, knowing that they're gonna do it, it's okay, but just so it's on the record. And cause people I hear people argue about, well, you know, about the pool or about this or whatever, and you know, they get in, and I say, well, what do you do about it? Do you go vote? Do you listen to the candidates? Do you hear how they stand? Because I'm big into, you know, being part of the political process. And I always say to people, well, what have you done to change it? A lot of people can voice their opinions, but they don't do anything about it. So I say, if you want to do something about it, come to a meeting and voice your opinion, or write a letter to the board, or, you know, do something, because if nobody knows what you're feeling, then nothing's ever gonna get done. But a lot of people just like to complain, and then nothing gets done. So I say, put it on record that we wanted this, so then now, when it comes time to voting, well, how did Jane Doe vote on this? Oh, you voted against the pool, or you voted against fencing, or you voted. Now at least they have some information on who they're voting for. But unfortunately, most people don't even take the time to care about it. They just go in and they'll say, well, or don't vote at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, just to keep the people informed is what we're trying to do, you know, and make it as easy as possible for them to get what they need, the information to follow the rules. So just saying that, okay, the council's not gonna do it, okay, they won't, but at least we're recommending something, let them say no, and then let the people decide.
I'm for recommending 5, they might not even go for the 5.
Right.
But I would recommend it.
Well, here's my question about that. You said that the council heard, how did they hear?
I do not have a clue. Well, they watch our videos.
Oh, I see.
Hello.
Yeah.
We are on a public site, and everything we say is on that site. And so, you know, for those council members that are interested in what's going on in our meetings, they watch the videos just like a lot of the community does. I hope a lot of the community starts to pay attention and watch them.
Right.
Yeah, I would like everybody to be involved. The more people we have with voices, the more satisfied people will have here. Because if the majority is heard, then the majority is happy. And then, you know.
You're never gonna make everybody happy.
Yeah, but no, that will not happen.
And unfortunately, you're never gonna get people to want to stay informed, you know,
Yeah.
people just.
Well, life.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
I know that, I know, but our job is to make it as easy as possible for the people.
And
you know,
that's
and that's what we're trying to do.
Our full focus.
And I just
agree
found
with
it
that.
interesting that the council didn't have a formal discussion about the 6 foot. So what they're saying is, like you said, if you have a pool, you can do 6 feet. But if you have children, you can't do
Yeah.
6 feet. So why does a pool take precedence
Right.
or importance over children? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
And I think that's where my whole thought process was. I don't understand why, if you have a pool, you have a priority on fencing level. To me, that doesn't make any
It's a
sense.
privilege.
It is.
It's a privilege.
And to me, it doesn't make any sense. If I want a 6 foot fence, I have to put a whole pool in. To me, it's just it's an unfair hurdle that you have to put. I feel like when you're in, you know, for what we do, when we're recommending these things, you try to do what's fair across the board for everybody, within reason. You know, we can't have camels.
Right.
Nobody, can't do that, but.
I think it's very simple. The thing with the pool, it has to do with liability. Because isn't it that the state or it requires that there be a?
I don't think so.
4
It's
feet.
4 feet for a
4
pool.
feet?
Yeah, it's not, yeah.
Then thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
Then if it's 6 feet, then we should have 6 feet for everybody, seriously.
That was my thought process when we started this, when we started into this, and I know that, you know, a council member said that they just didn't think that was gonna work, but I also see the validity in what you're saying. We shouldn't let, what one council member says, or, you know, might not fly, and like you said, it's only fair to go before the actual people, because it does, with us, it does go before the people on the videos, but very few people show up or have public comment or
Okay,
whatever,
so
so it would
when
be
it
different
goes-
for a real meeting, like,
The city
I
council.
mean, not that our meetings aren't real
No, I
meetings, but
understand.
the
Right.
council meetings.
So when the council gets it, is there any room for bringing up the reasoning behind it?
They will, I mean, if they want it, I mean, the last time I feel like it was an omnibus bill that we sent them last time, it was like, it was so many corrections and so many things that went up, in November, because they had to have a public meeting, so we were trying to get as much in before, those public meetings are expensive to have to do everything that goes involved into it, but, so we sent up so much stuff. I actually did go to a work session and work through every single line item with them. And just like with the barn dominium, I can explain until I'm blue in the face, but when you have somebody sitting there going, I pulled up what a barn dominium looks like on Google and it's ugly and it doesn't have a place here. End of story. And it is what it is. I'm not a council member and I'm not the mayor and I don't hold that kind of power or weight. All we can
So
do
what's-
is make recommendations.
what do we put, the 6 or the 5?
That is, I think we go with his recommendation. We don't let, it needs to be on public record, and we don't let what we think might not pass be the guider of what we send up. I think we are a board, we are separate from them in our recommendations. I think we have very thoughtful meetings, and
Okay,
we work
yes,
really
sir.
hard. So whatever we vote on, and that's our recommendation, that's what we will take to
Okay,
them.
so in the UDO, when you do the wording,
Mhm.
can you preface it by saying that not preface it, or something inserted there, that it will be the same as for the pool?
I think that we can certainly put that in there, but I think it's redundant. The pool is separate from the fencing. They have their own separate.
Okay,
If we
but
put
I'm
6
saying
foot in
like in
there.
parentheses, in order to be consistent with the
Yeah.
requirement for pool fencing,
I
blah,
think
blah, blah, 6
I don't need to do that in the UDO. What I can do is in our recommendation.
Okay.
That's
Can you
where
do that?
that's where it can go. That's where
Because it is
we
based on
send
the
that up.
fact that we feel
But
that if
we haven't
if
voted on it as a board yet.
So the pool, it has to be 4,
6.
State
has to
says
be 4, but ours says 6.
but we
Okay.
allow 6.
So
For a
if they're
So-
allowing the pool to be 6, which they should be able to allow the 6 to be for any
Right.
part in the back.
I agree. I think that.
Should be conforming to.
Yes.
I agree with that as well. So we need to vote. What's
Okay,
your
let's go back to 6.
what's your thoughts on that?
5,
5? You're gonna stay at 5?
6 is too high. in
And
my
I
opinion,
understand that totally. I
Unless
do.
there's a pool.
I understand. Well, the state level for pool's 4, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think, opacity rules still stand. I mean, you
Yeah,
still
I
can't have a
understand.
privacy fence.
Mhm.
You still can't have the,
Yeah.
what we would think of as a privacy. I mean, it's still, you can make it more private with a box fence, but it still has to be within the opacity rules.
Just as a perspective, my neighbor has probably as high as the ceiling, not trees, but bushes, I forget what they're called.
Probably arborvitae or something like
Well,
that.
not arborvitae, I think they're oleanders, and it just blocks out everything. They have a pool, looks great.
Mhm.
So, there's alternatives to fences too.
Yeah, I have to, and I
Well,
think
not if you have a pool. You just can't have the shrubbery
they
as a.
probably
Well, they don't
have
have a fence, they just have the shrubbery.
They
If they have a
have
pool,
to
they have to have a
have a pool?
fence.
Oh, wow.
you can't have just, kids can get through shrubbery,
Yeah.
animals can get through shrubbery.
So that's, they
have
can
to.
get in trouble probably.
Yeah, I don't wanna get, yeah.
Don't
But
say
yeah,
anymore.
No, don't say anymore. But, state law is they have to have a fence around that pool.
Yeah, well, sorry, there's a fence around the pool.
Oh,
Okay,
then
then
that's
they're, then
The
they,
border is the
but
yard.
their
it's
privacy
big.
Oh, okay.
is the big grown
Yeah.
things. And I see the value in that. I'm all for greenery and trees. I love it. That's my favorite thing on the planet. But, I mean, if
But
you
it's
have
just-
if
if
you
you
have a
wanna
2-year-old,
create
even
that-
if you start when your child is being born, and you want a fence to, 1, give yourself a little bit of privacy, and 2, to keep the children in, if that's what it's for, it would take you 10 years to get those trees
Right.
to where they
Right.
need to be,
Yeah.
when you can have a
Yes.
fence next
Yes,
week.
Yes,
Um,
that's my,
so-
I was gonna go. with
The only reason I
I
don't
vote
like
for,
6
I vote
foot.
for both.
I don't like
Put
6 foot
greenery
either. I don't
and
think
trees.
that's
Put
right.
the fence
But
and the greenery.
if they allow it for a pool, then you can't, in my opinion, is that they shouldn't, discriminate against somebody that wants it for other,
Yeah.
for other reasons. So if you're allowing the 6 foot for a pool, I say you gotta allow it for 6 people want just privacy.
6.
Okay,
All right, let's vote.
all right, I move that it's, you wanna second it?
Second.
Okay,
All right.
all right, so are you opposed to it and vote?
Yeah.
Please
Okay.
oppose. I'm for, you're for.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, should we have done a formal vote? I apologize.
Well, I mean, I kind of did.
Yeah, I think we got the gist of it. So we're gonna recommend 6, okay. And the 2 appendixes, I'm gonna try to have those to you guys by Sunday, so you'll have them,
So the numbers, the calculations and the
pictures.
and the pictures, yep. And then with that, we'll go, and we're not changing any recommendation to opacity, we're leaving that as is.
And the same thing with the materials.
And the same thing with materials. We
The
did,
beginning of the
last time we had voted on we added composite.
Yes.
The word,
Yes.
the wording of composite, 'cause there's a lot of fencing, that's like Trex. Trex is a brand name, but it's still the same thing.
Okay, again, did we, I don't have any record I have in the notes that we said we composed it okay, but we didn't vote on anything.
Okay.
Do you wanna vote?
Yes, we need, if we're gonna recommend that be added to the UDO, it has to be a vote, so, is everybody,
I move,
okay, so I second.
to add the word composite.
yes.
To the materials list, cause that's not in the listing, and I think that needs to be, just to bring the UDO up to current build standards for fencing. I think that just makes sense.
Okay, so all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Yes? Okay. All right, we're done with the fencing,
Mm-hmm.
okay, finally.
Holy moly, shh, don't say it too loud. It's only been
All right.
months.
Now we're in,
All right.
new business?
New business, so this will be fairly fast, cause we'll get into the meat of this next meeting.
Well,
But we are gonna get some ground rules.
and then we're gonna go through it in our training.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we can't go through the UDO and like the whole thing in our training.
So what is it that okay, well.
What we're gonna do, what our plan, what we need to do is to go through the UDO line by line, compare it to the table of uses, look for any inconsistencies, look for anything that we feel needs to be updated, and we're gonna go section by section.
So we are gonna go through.
We're gonna go section by section, and we're gonna take each section, and before we leave each section, we're gonna check that table of authorized uses. We're going to go through the definitions. We're going to go line by line, and we're gonna audit the UDO. That's pretty much what we're doing. We're doing an audit of the UDO, and we may get, some sections are gonna go a little faster than others, because there's some sections that have very little mechanic behind it. But if we see something as we're going line by line that needs to be updated to today's standards, that would be the time to talk about it, to think about it, and we don't have to rush this process. We've got the rest of the year to do it.
When did the village start the UDO?
Oh, gosh.
Long time ago.
I gotta get a blind for that. Gosh, I think the UDO, I wanna say it goes all the way back to maybe the early 90s. It certainly doesn't go all the way to the beginning of the village, cause it wasn't state mandated. It was no law to have a UDO. So I'm sure whenever, I don't know when the state mandated that, we'd have to do some research to find out when North Carolina required a UDO for a community, for articles of incorporation and all that good stuff.
And bylaws.
And bylaws and all those things, yeah.
So this will be the first time that anyone has gone through the UDO page by page?
Oh,
or
no.
It's been done many times.
Okay.
In fact, when I first came on the board, they were at the tail end of doing, they actually, when I first moved here, the UDO and the ETJ, they weren't inclusive. So the UDO was for the village, and the ETJ had its own set of bylaws. To me, that made tremendous sense. when the UDO was combined, I felt like there was some pressures put on the ETJ that maybe could have been a little bit, more thought out in certain spaces. It was a lot more controlling, it was a lot more restrictive, and there were some things that didn't really, to me, make sense, but, you know, I wasn't part of that process, and very few ETJ people they don't consider themselves part of Foxfire, even though you bought the property and you're in the zone, you are part of Foxfire.
Is there something, I think I read something recently about the state with the ETJs.
The state has played around, and that's been going on for about 5 years now. And every time it has gone, it has either passed the House or been dead completely. It passed the House this time and died in the, whatever the Senate.
Okay.
So, and they actually tried to pass it to exclude Moore County, and that's where they ran into legal trouble. It died in legal, because Moore County, the towns and communities actually went to the state and their state representatives and threw a big old fit about it. But we were about the only, this and one other county, like 1 or 2 towns, but every town in Moore County went to their representatives and said, hey, you cannot do this, it's a bad idea, you know, all these other reasons. And so I think they made enough of a stink for it to die in the Senate. It didn't get the votes it needed. I think it was dead and legal when they tried to take Moore County out of it. Then it became how are you gonna take Moore County out and do it for everybody else?
And you live in an ET.
I am in the ETJ.
So you don't have to follow the rules of the Foxfire.
I don't, but there are also some more stringent rules now for the UDO that I do have to follow. If I don't, nobody knows about it. But I also want to be a rule follower and I don't think that I should have to follow some of those rules, but I do. And I try to be, cognizant of the fact that not everybody lives so far away from the road, not everybody is not visible, I'm not visible, but there are a lot of properties that are visible, a lot of businesses that are visible. You might not think of them as this, but there's lots of business in the ETJ. That was part of, there was participation from the ETJ when we moved to RA5. Which I actually supported. That was a common sense thing. I think whenever it kept bouncing back and forth in the state, if we were gonna lose the ETJ or not, it made sense to move to RA5 to protect Foxfire from the massive overbuilding that was going on in Moore County at the time. The developers were going wild. They're still kind of going wild. It'll take us 20 more years of development to meet the demand for housing that we have in our deficit. And some of that's gonna encroach upon Foxfire, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we were able to protect some of that. And there are other people that I have talked to in the county level, people that have been in planning for 30, 40 years, masters of zoning and planning, as part of the county steering committee, that were absolutely furious that we put an RA5 stipulation for absolutely. They were like, you've done nothing other than stifle growth in your community. How are you expecting to be a community if you can't grow around it? And that's their thought. But I was shocked, but it made sense because the county, everywhere around the ETJ, their zone is RA5. It's a 5-acre minimum all the way around our ETJ. Our ETJ was the only one that was not in that stipulation, and it did protect us from some heavy development that I think we didn't really know about, but I know it was rumored that there were a couple planned communities, one of which being on the piece of property that I bought. That landowner had 134 acres, and her original thought was to make that, I think it was I can't remember exactly how many homes they wanted to do, but they wanted to do one phase of 400 homes in 134 acres. It would have just, and I'm right at the beginning of Foxfire, that would have been a whole nother community that you don't really, it would have been wild.
How far does the
ETJ?
Yes.
A mile.
So it's a mile.
It's a
starting
mile.
From the.
Pretty much a mile from every border.
So
So
from
every
this
border
building.
of Foxfire proper, except for maybe Graham Pines. We can pull it up on the Moore County site. there you go. All that light yellow,
That's Grand Pines right there.
yeah, all the light yellow is all ETJ.
So starting.
So if you look at the FAR map, and here I'm still thinking of fencing.
Yeah.
That gives you an overview if you were to walk down there, but that shows you the ETJ, and ours actually goes further up Hoffman, I think because of the big solar farm.
Yeah.
Goes all the way up
Yeah.
to 211.
So
It
what's
goes
Grand,
all the way to
Goes all the way to
211?
211. Okay, so
So
that's
So
more than a
that's what I
mile.
was
Well,
saying.
more than a mile.
Yeah,
what's
that's a
Grand
few miles.
Pines zone?
Grand Pines is, oh, excuse me, that's still in Foxfire.
Oh, it is?
It is,
So-
they annexed Grand Pines, I can't remember when that happened. When did that happen? I don't remember.
So that's the ETJ goes all the way to 211, so if that was ever taken from Foxfire and like they wanted to do, then the developers can develop all that.
They
Land
still,
down.
think about this, they still have to be, what would happen is if the land doesn't just be Wild Wild West.
Right.
It wouldn't just be the Wild Wild West. What would happen would be Foxfire would lose the right to the ETJ and the county zoning would
Right.
take effect.
Okay.
The county would have to have the county planning and zoning would get together, take comment from the public, and then they would decide what the zoning is. What our thought was when we put that RA5 in place was that's what they have everywhere else. How easy would it be if we did lose the ETJ? How easy would it be for the county to go, everything else is RA5, they're already accustomed to RA5, it's RA5. So then you still are protected from the building.
But they don't
from the
have to do
development.
that.
They
I
do
mean,
not, it would be at the pleasure of the county.
Right, so I mean, if we lose it, then it's whoever on the county wants
It
to
would
change it.
be, Foxfire would no longer have
That's
any
pretty
way
far.
to control any of that. And it is, I mean.
That's a lot of territory, I mean, a lot of land that
It
goes
is,
all the way up
and
to
think about
211.
it this way, it's every city in our state has that around there, and they were put in the 40s to protect towns from pig farms and cattle, overdevelopment, or, junkyards.
Right,
Let's say think about it in the fact that, like, what if somebody could buy the 49 acres I have
right,
and start a junk car place?
Right.
If there's no ETJ, there's no law, there's no law in the county that says I can't do that.
but the county would be able to change the law for that area,
Right.
and they would have to do that.
They would pick up, and they would know what was gonna happen in the state legislature, so they would have it in place day one, because they would never be like, oh, ETJs are gone. It would be like, ETJ, if they ever passed it, it would be months from the effective date. Effective date
Right.
would be 6
So it would
months
give
from
the county time to
It
change.
would give the county time to change, it would give Foxfire time to talk to the county and Foxfire, the village council would have meetings, the populace of the ETJ
Right.
and the populace of Foxfire would have a say as well, the county manager would be involved, and it would be statewide, like every town would be doing every town in
Yeah.
our community would be doing the same thing with our county.
Right,
Because you think about how our county feels about their ETJs. I mean, we're a pretty strong county when it comes to ETJs. Enough to stop the state from passing that law, which literally, it was a hair last year.
wow.
Hair. June of last year, it was this far, because it was in session, it was pushing through. Then the county made their stink about it, and then they pulled it out, said no more county, we'll do the rest of the counties, but not more. And then, it held up in legal, and they were like, you can't do that. You can't do it. So if it ever comes back up, it's not like we have no input. The people in the ETJ will have the right to go talk to the county. Foxfire has a right to talk to the county. There would probably be town council, there'd probably be like, town council meetings with the county, with Foxfire, it wouldn't be just a knee-jerk thing. Because, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think a lot of people that are in the ETJ are like, yeah, we should get rid of the ETJ, we just wanna be county, it's super easy. I don't have to deal with, certain bureaucracy or
Foxfire,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't have to deal with the bureaucracy of it. County's super easy, UDO, the county's super easy, it's not complicated at all, and the county pays a lot more people, so it's easier to run through. Like, you go to planning in the county, they got 8 people in there. You don't have one person to get a permit from, with everybody else that's trying to get a permit. So it's, there is some ease to it, but double-edged sword. Once Foxfire and we as a local board and a local we lose our ability to influence that area, what could happen?
Mhm.
You know, that protects our home values, that protects the community. You know, we have things that we need to fix, little tweaks, but we don't wanna throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, we've got a great community, we just need little things, updating, not, you know, tear it down.
Yeah,
So, anyway, that was a fun lesson, sorry.
no, that was good, thank you.
I think is there anything else?
That's it.
Yep, we kinda have some ground rules, we'll get into it heavy. I'm gonna send some emails out just to kinda go, yeah, this is where we're gonna start, and then we'll get into it whenever we come back. Everybody gonna be here next month?
Yes.
Everybody good? Okay, well, I think we are adjourned at 7:01.